5 Chicago police officers accused of lying about the shooting death of Laquan McDonald.
All 5 officers are now suspended without pay. Not only are they accused of lying, most of them accused of failing to make sure the audio and video was working on their in-car cameras.
When you have everybody talking about the code of silence within a police department, this is the perfect example of what that code of silence is all about.
In today's case, the most important piece of evidence was kept from the public. Imagine if a single video, kept out of view for more than a year, quietly changes how an entire city understands a crime that happened on one ordinary night. On October 20th, 2014, just before 10 p.m., a teenager was walking along a stretch of road on Chicago's southwest side. Nothing about this moment feels historic. There is no crowd. There are no cameras pointed from the sidewalk. Only a series of police radio calls, dashboard cameras, and later, silence. For now, the name of the teenager does not matter. The details will come later. What matters first is how little anyone is paying attention. The first 911 call came in earlier that evening. A man reports a person breaking into cars. Another call mentions someone carrying a knife. Police were dispatched. Several units begin searching the area. The teenager is still walking. He is not running or chasing anyone. He is moving down the middle of the street, occasionally stepping onto the sidewalk. Officers try to locate him based on vague descriptions. There is confusion over direction and location. Radio traffic overlaps. No single officer has a complete picture. At one point, a patrol car pulls alongside the teenager. The officer inside asks him to drop the knife. The teenager does not comply. He keeps walking. This is important later. At this moment, it feels routine. A few minutes later, another patrol car arrives. Its dashboard camera is recording automatically, as it always does. The footage will exist whether anyone asks for it or not. The teenager is still walking. The knife is still in his hand. He is not facing the officer who has just arrived. Within seconds, shots are fired. 16 of them. The teenager collapses onto the asphalt. He does not get up again. At the scene, officers begin standard procedures. An ambulance is called. A perimeter is set. Reports will be written. The official story begins to take shape quickly.
And I never said the shooting of Laquan McDonald was justified. What I will say today is that the incident was clearly a tragedy. It was devastating for the McDonald family, it was devastating for the Chicago Police Department, and it was devastating for the city of Chicago.
By the next morning, the police department releases a brief statement. It says an officer shot a suspect who refused commands and lunged with a knife. The officer feared for his life. The shooting was justified. This version spreads fast. Local news repeats it. Press conferences reinforce it. The language is careful, familiar, and authoritative. The teenager is identified as Laquan McDonald. He is 17 years old. Police say he damaged vehicles. They say he was aggressive and that he posed an immediate threat. But there is no video released. The department confirms that dashcam footage exists, but says it is part of an ongoing investigation. For now, the public sees only still images, descriptions, and official summaries. Laquan's family begins asking questions. Civil rights attorneys request the video. Journalists file public records requests. Each request is denied or delayed. Police shootings are often reviewed internally. Video is often withheld. Time passes. Weeks turn into months. The officer involved returns to duty after a standard administrative leave. There is no arrest. There are no charges. The case appears to be closed. If you are a casual observer, this is where the story ends. But something is quietly happening behind the scenes. In April of 2015, Laquan McDonald's family files a civil lawsuit against the city of Chicago. As part of the case, a judge orders the release of the Dashcam video. The city resists. Lawyers argue that releasing the footage could compromise investigations or inflame tensions. The judge disagrees. More months pass. Behind closed doors, city officials watch the video. So do police supervisors, and so do attorneys representing the city. What they see does not match the public description. Still, the video remains unreleased. In November of 2015, more than 13 months after the shooting, a court sets a firm deadline. The video must be made public. On November 24, 2015. It finally is. If you were watching the news that day, you probably remember the reaction before you remember the footage itself. Protests, outrage, a sense that something had been hidden. The video is less than a minute long. It shows Laquan McDonald walking away from a police car. He is holding a knife. He is not charging. He is not lunging. A patrol car pulls up. An officer steps out. Within seconds, shots begin. Laquan spins. He falls. The shots continue even after he is on the ground. 16 shots in roughly 14 seconds. There is no visible threat at the moment the first shot is fired. There is no movement toward the officer. This is not an interpretation. This is what the video shows. And now everyone can see it. The officer who fired the shots is named Jason Van Dyke. He is charged with first-degree murder just hours after the video's release. This is rare. Police officers are seldom charged so quickly, especially more than a year after an incident. The police superintendent is fired. The mayor holds a press conference.
The first step in that journey is my step, and I'm sorry.
An independent federal investigation is announced. But the criminal case moves slowly. Prosecutors reduce the charge to second-degree murder. Van Dyke pleads not guilty. At trial, the defense argues that Van Dyke feared for his life. They point to the knife. They point to Laquan's behavior earlier that evening. The prosecution focuses on the video. They count the shots. They describe the distance between the officer and the teenager. The jury watches the footage again and again. In October of 2018, Jason Van Dyke is convicted of second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery, one for each shot fired. He is sentenced to 81 months in prison. Not life, not decades. Just under 7 years. He serves less than half before being released. For some, this feels like accountability. For others, it does not. But the case does not end with the verdict. The U.S. Department of Justice releases a report on the Chicago Police Department. It finds a pattern of excessive force and systemic failures in accountability and oversight. The city enters into a federal consent decree. Reforms are mandated. Training changes. Oversight structures are rewritten. Laquan McDonald's name becomes part of a longer conversation about policing, transparency, and delayed truth. But strip all of that away, and the case is still about something simpler. A 17-year-old walking down a street. A video that existed from the start. A story told one way for more than a year. Nothing about the footage changed. Only who was allowed to see it. And once it was seen, it could not be unseen. That is the lasting impact of this case. Not just what happened on the street that night, but what happened in the months that followed. The waiting, the silence, and the moment when reality finally caught up with the official version. That is where the story ends.